Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Cohen, and today we have one of my greatest friends here, Margo. Margo Harris is the co-founder of Ground and Center, also founder of Calm Cookie Kids Yoga. She is amazing. I've known Margo for so long. We've known each other for so long. So Margo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I just said to Tiffany, I'm like, this is so formal. What are we doing with these giants? But I'm so excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And we were just like talking beforehand. I was thinking before you were coming in, I was like, oh my gosh, like I've known you now for
5 years.
Oh my God. It's like, It feels like exactly. So Margo and I actually met at a Babes in Business event. And
shout out.
Yes, shout out to Jen. And we met there. We were put into like a networking group together and we just started talking. And, I had kids and Margo does kids yoga. And I was like, okay, tell me more immediately. And we just got to talking and then we just stayed in contact from there. But Margo, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your journey, how you got into working with kids and opening Ground and Center and all the things?
Well, I always wanted to work with kids. I remember being a first grader and I was obsessed with my first grade teacher, Mrs. Ward. Shout out to Mrs. Ward. And she wasn't just my favorite teacher in elementary school. She was everybody's favorite teacher. And she changed my life. It was one of those moments where even as a 6-year-old, I felt seen and valued and loved. And I was like, oh, I think I want to be this type of person for kids one day. Even as a child myself, I actually have visceral memories of that moment, that year. So I do credit her for so much of my desires initially in like education and what it would mean, what kind of person I wanted to be to influence the lives of children. And so, fast forward, I got my degrees in early childhood education because I loved babies and toddlers and, little ones are my jam. And so from there, I started teaching. I taught for over a decade and I absolutely loved the classroom. But then after that, I started to feel I think a lot of people in their like late 20s to their early to mid 30s, maybe I think you have experience with this, go through a moment where they're like, I don't know if I'm in the right place. I don't know if I knew from personal that you had experience, but if anyone's a new listener, right? So I was like, I'm feeling a little caged. How do I bust out of this cage? And I thought, do I want to do this exact thing for the rest of my life? And so another part of that was that I was teaching yoga to my students. So I had all these amazing 4 and 5-year-old students, and I was using my adult yoga practice and just like bringing it down to their level in the best way that I knew how. And I became obsessed with doing it. The kids responded immediately and they were like, more yoga, Miss Margo, like just all the time. And I was like, okay, that's some information. Like, no, we can't do. I had a whole curriculum. I had things I had to do as a teacher, right? We all have rules and things. More reasons why I left the classroom. Right. Too many rules. It was a little bit too structured. I was starting to become, a little anxious about it all. And so I was like, okay, interesting little feedback from the kids. Parents were talking to me about it. My kid won't stop talking about yoga. And so I started bringing it back like every month. And then it was every week. And then I was doing it every single day. And then it was all I wanted to do. And so, ultimately I said, I'm going to see, are there trainings for me to be able to learn how to really appropriately. And I wanted to be in integrity, right, with bringing the yoga to kids, especially if I was going to leave my teaching job to make this my full-time career. And so once I finished my first weekend, and I've done tons of training since, but once I finished that first weekend of training, I was like, this is it. I just got to chill, just remembering it. This is what I want to do. This is what I meant to do. I meant to reach more children than just the 20 kids in front of me in my classroom who I loved. And of course I grieved the fact that I left the classroom, right? But it was a pretty short grieving process because I felt like it was aligned. It felt good in my soul. I felt it viscerally in my energy, in my body. And I was like, everything was just yes, just this glowing orb of yes. I'm like, I'm going towards this no matter what it takes. Come hell or high water, I will teach yoga to kids full time. And so after that, I made the transition into teaching part-time pre-K, just to dip my toe at first.
Yeah.
And we know that, you know, I'm an anxiety warrior. And so as someone that's grew up with so much anxiety and struggled with that, I knew like, let's just try and see how it goes. But then after that first year of doing 50-50 of teaching yoga to kids and also teaching preschool, I was like, I'm ready. I need to just dive into this full force. And that was in 2015. And then 5 years later when we met, you know, I was 5 years deep and looking to expand and explore other avenues. And then few years ago, I met a lovely, lovely person. She was on your pod recently, Chrissy Parisi, you know, and we just clicked. And she was the one that pushed me. She was like, we're doing this. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's open up a kids yoga studio. And she teaches the tweens and teens in our space. And again, it made me super anxious to leave, but I also felt this like full in my body. Yes. Like, okay, I'm going to move towards this. And so that's when Ground and Center came about in 2023. And so it's been like I'm sure most of your listeners, it's been quite a journey in terms of work and moving through lots of obstacles to work on trying to make my dreams come true and continue to make them come true. And that is to serve more kids, right? And their grownups. That's the ultimate goal. I want more kids to get this practice because it changed my life.
Yeah. Oh, and Margo, like you are, first of all, what a journey that is. And also, like you are, when I think of kids, number one, I think of you, I think of Christy, but I think of you for the younger kids. Like I think of you and I'm like, this woman is truly at the forefront of changing the landscape for kids. And because I do think that, you know, schools lack in some it's really the emotional support. And what you're doing is you're giving them the freedom to like go into themselves, go into their body, go into their, you know, that they have the tools that they can really thrive within themselves. And I feel like you doing that work is just so it's important.
It's important. It is, you know, to take a step back. I grew up in the 80s and 90s like you did, right? And I had crippling anxiety and nobody used that language. I'm sure many of your listeners that grew up, any that are elder millennials like us or, you know, older, didn't have any experience with speaking about emotions, with talking about mental health. And so when I learned that, oh, what I've been dealing with my whole life is severe anxiety, it changed everything. And I know that people have complicated relationships to different labels, but I've been really empowered by my anxiety, actually. It's taken a long time, but over the course of, you know, understanding it and getting curious and finding practices like yoga and mindfulness that have served that, I thought, actually, this is a superpower of mine. And often anxiety is really just our body's way of saying like, we're prepared, right? We're taking care of you. We're protecting you. And it has its place. And so one of the goals at Ground and Center and the goals for me when I'm teaching anywhere is for kids to understand that their emotions are just normal. They're part of them. We're meant to feel them just like we're meant to feel all the good emotions. And that feelings just like the waves on the sea, right? It's temporary. It ebbs and flows. It comes and goes. And I think the greatest gift that we can offer the children in our lives is that understanding. And then giving them the tools, the life skills to be able to notice their feelings. And then what can I do about it? If I want to do something about it, I have options. I have this tool chest. I know Chrissy and I are always talking about this toolkit, right? This tool belts. Let's go with the tool belts because belts are cute. And also because even though I never wear them, I need to start wearing belts. And because it's the idea that like you're bringing it with you and a toolkit may be kind of heavy, right?
Yeah.
And so this tool belt can be something that they can arm themselves with in a really positive way. And that's what the two of us, Christy and I, had found in our own life journeys. And I know her journey as a mom. And for me, it's like, what could happen if we arm children with these tools? What could the world be? How much better could it be if kids learn from their infancy? That's why I'm such an advocate for early childhood learning of all kinds, but specifically yoga and mindfulness practices for even just the youngest of kids, right? Infants and their grownups, to be able to have these life skills what would happen if they had them starting from that age.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we're going to know that at some point.
I do. I do. And if there's people like you and Christy in the forefront fighting for that, yeah, and like bringing it to everybody.
Yeah.
Because I think that parents right now, I think like, like this age group and younger, like we get it now. Like our parents didn't because it wasn't a thing.
They did the best they could.
Exactly. With what they had. And they didn't have much,
the language for it either.
No. And it's like, maybe, you could have a conversation, but it was more just like, it was felt like as a behavior, right? It was
something
like
that needed to be fixed too.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And it's like, well, it's okay to have these feelings, right? And it not stuff them down, especially, and I'm going to like kind of highlight like little boys here, because boys, especially, you can't cry. You can't, no, you have to be strong. And you have to be, and it's like, no, we're teaching these kids wrong by saying like, you can't feel your emotions. That's actually making it worse. And that, I think, is another place where anxiety does come from, because we shove down the emotions. And then when we feel them, there's an anxious energy that's going to come up with
100%.
So imagine, like you said, if we did teach our kids at a younger age, like what, or if we had that at a younger age, like
but
what
we're learning it now, right? It's never too late, people.
No,
it's never too late to learn about your emotions.
It's never, ever too late. And the thing is, and what's interesting is that I'm going for rapid transformational therapy, like training. I'm actually done with it. And and it's amazing. But like you said about infancy, there are people that go back to the womb in their scenes of like why they have what they have right now, no matter what it is. And it's like, no matter what, especially like in the womb and in infancy, the biggest sense that you have is hearing. So you can hear and sense everything. These babies can hear and sense everything that's going on around them.
They're sponges.
Exactly.
They're absorbing everything.
And you think that they're not listening. You think that they don't.
That's the first thing that the first thing they're going to feel, or they're going to hear. And they're also just going to be able to attend to the energy that's going on. I'm constantly talking about that with the grownups that come to my baby and me class at Ground and Center. Or whenever I teach infants, ages 6 weeks through pre-crawling, especially, that like what you're doing here is really for you, so that your energy transfers to them. Like, is your baby going to throw themselves into a triangle pose? No, right? Like, yes, that would be hella impressive. Triangle's hard for me, y'all. Like, it's one of the hardest poses there is. And my point is that, yes, we're helping the baby to lengthen and strengthen. Yes, we're working on core strength. And they're doing these cute little yoga poses. We have these great songs because we know that their brains are sponges. They are soaking up everything that's in their environment. But I'm only with them for 45 minutes. Their parent, their caregiver, whomever is in the space with me, I'm constantly trying to remind them that, hey, actually your yoga practice with your baby is going to be you having a calm and regulated nervous system. And so teaching them just as much as I'm teaching the baby, right? Or like teaching them things that they can do to help their baby to fart or have gas, right? Correctly. Yeah. It's like, hey, this is some fun for the changing table. And also, right, it's such a duality of joyful consequences for doing yoga with your baby. And one of them is hopefully parent or caregiver or whomever having a calm and regulated nervous system. And it's really teaching them the skills that they probably weren't taught when they were young too, to be able to tap into themselves. Because that really is the hope, is that if we have calm parents, we have parents that at the very least can notice when they're becoming dysregulated to be able to do something about it, and then be able to transfer that steady, calm presence and energy to not just their babies, of course, but to their spouse, to their other children, their coworkers. And then people will all of a sudden be like, oh, look at Tiffany. She's so calm. And, I mean, you're just a walking calm nervousness. You give off such a peaceful energy. I'm sure people tell you that all the time, but it is such a valuable thing where like, it's like happy consequences for doing this practice. Yeah. So what types of like transformations have you seen in kids or parents that, that people can like, kind of like look at and be like, oh, wow. Because like some people, why I'm asking this is that some people don't realize that they need it.
You know, and I think that a
So
lot,
true.
if you're not self-aware and you're just like, ooh, mommy and me, I'm going to sign up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's so much more than that. Like what
Yes.
Margo's doing is so much more than that. Like she is like giving you a gift in your life. Like, and I want you to understand that. So it's like, what could someone see when they come to you and like start to see these changes, whether it's in their kids or themselves?
Totally. Well, again, why I'm such an advocate for starting when they're super young, when their brains truly are sponges, right? Like the infancy through age 5 is when all of these neurons are firing at these levels that they're not going to be firing at the older they get. And so that's why we have to, as adults, relearn a whole bunch of stuff or learn them for the first time if we didn't get it in our early childhood. And so just some perfect examples. I've had parents say to me after their first mommy and me class, I've never seen my child sit still for more than 10 seconds. I've never seen my child take a deep breath. And some of them had been, you know, modeling the yoga in their kids' presence. And it does, and that's what you should do. So like, but for those parents that aren't yogis, right? So the beautiful part is that whether a parent has a yoga practice or they've never experienced yoga before, they can come and potentially their child or different children, right, will have the exact same maybe transformational experience. And the biggest thing that I want them to know too is that and you said it a few minutes ago, just because you don't see your kid doing something doesn't mean that they aren't getting it. And then all of a sudden, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years down the road, they're doing it. They're embodying it. They remember, hey, do you remember when I had a parent reach out to me, like it was maybe 3 months ago, and I hadn't seen her or her daughter in about 3 years.
Wow.
They just live far away, and I stopped teaching yoga at that place. And so she DMs me out of nowhere, and she's like, I just want you to know that I was taking a walk with my daughter, and she said, do you remember Miss Margo? Just, I don't know. Remember Miss Margo? Mom was like, yeah, of course I remember. She was like, I really miss yoga. Right. Wow. And she was only 2.5 when she started with me, and she took class regularly for about 6 months. And so I was just like, at first I was just like, oh my gosh, it's every teacher wants to hear that. Right. And at the same time, it's like, yes, you planted a seed in her when she was super little. And even though it's been a couple years, she remembers it. Right. Yeah, and she's craving it.
I was just going to say, I think she's craving it because she probably needs it. And she is looking for that feeling again that it gave her because she probably needs it in her life. I mean, she might 100%. Just be starting school, first grade, whatever.
Exactly. It was. Yep. Right? It was like her first few weeks of, this was again, probably longer than 3 months ago. It was like the first couple of months of the school year.
Yeah. So like changes, and she wanted to
big
feel
transitions.
Like how freaking amazing is that?
And another one of my favorite stories ever was I had a student who, she loved yoga. She was one of those kids where you're just like, she came and she had her mat and she was ready to go. And she was about 4 when she started with me. And we practiced together weekly for about 8 months. So then one day her mom messages me and she goes, I took a picture of my daughter and she was in her high chair, like at dinner. And she had her hands on her heart and belly. She was doing a somatic hold. And I said, okay. So I just got this photograph. I'm like, so say more. Like, what's going on here? She goes, well, you know, Sophie had been just running around. Like she just had a lot of energy. And so she was just running around our living room like a crazy, you know, like this is the mom's language, not mine, everybody. Yeah. Like a crazy person. She's running around the living room. And then out of nowhere, she stops and goes, I need a pause, which is obviously a word I use quite often. I need a pause, mommy. And so she went and sat in her high chair and put her hands on her heart and belly and started deep breathing. And so the mom had written me to say thank you. She was like, my daughter at 4 years old understands how to notice that she was going a little crazy, right? And what she needed to do to get herself into a more calm state. And it's just like, yes, and I said, I'm like, you gave that to her by bringing her to class or by practicing with her, right? Because ultimately we want everyone to understand that this practice is a traveling practice. This is something that you don't need a yoga mat to do. You can always put your hands on your heart and belly and take deep breaths. Like, that is the gift of most of the practices, things that you offer here at Spirit and Soul, right? Just like things that you can just do at any moment in your day when you're suffering, struggling, in pain, whether it be physical, emotional, or otherwise. So that's just a drop in the bucket, y'all, of some of the transformational things I've seen and witnessed and heard from grownups. And just, I want everyone to know too, when you plant the seed for a kid, whether you're a teacher, a parent, you're not necessarily going to get to see that become a sprout or a tree and then maybe bear the fruit. But just knowing that you're planting that seed can be just the most impactful thing. And like, if you're a parent, a caregiver, of course, you're going to get to hopefully, right, see all those different stages of your child's growth. But for anyone that's just in the lives of children, I'm a child-free person. And so I just get the luck and blessed ability to be able to spend my time with so many amazing children and families that you may not get to see the seed become fruit at some point, but it will. It will. And just knowing that like little things that we do all the time are rippling out and having an impact.
Yeah. And you're having such a big impact. And I think that this is so much more. I think that it's so healing, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, like these kids and whenever, you know, consider, obviously you are a Reiki healer, but like consider yourself for yourself, right? At this point, like consider everything that you're doing as a healing practice, like for the kids and for the adults, I would say anyway. And whenever we do any healing, like Margo said, like, no, it was you, right? Like it was you, like that is the mark of an amazing healer, somebody that holds space. And that's what I consider to be a healer, somebody that holds space for you. And Margo's holding this space for you, holding space for your children to be able to have this like self-awareness in order to like really say, okay, wait a second, I need a pause.
Yep.
Because I'm running around.
I'm running around
and I can't stop myself and I have so much energy and now I need a pause. Right. Because I am self-aware enough to figure that out.
Exactly.
And then
if you can reach them when they're that little, right? That's the thing, is that reaching children in their early childhood, it is the most important stage of their life.
Yeah,
but it's never too late. No. Because again, I didn't have it as a child. Most people don't have it in their childhood. Certainly not people our age, right? Yeah. And so like, I didn't find the practice until I was 18 and I had my first full-fledged panic attack in the middle of my final exam. And I was like, the guy next to me was so kind. He stopped his final exam to help me through this panic attack, through deep breathing. He gave me one step at a time directions to find the ground, literally. And the whole process was maybe 2 minutes, but it felt like 100 years. If you've ever had a panic attack out there, you know, it is terrifying. Sometimes you feel like you're dying. Truly, I've had that experience. But that was the first time I'd ever had that experience. And that was the tipping point for me where I realized, oh, I've been literally gripping for my entire life before that. Yeah. And again, I don't blame my parents. I don't blame my teachers or anyone. It's just that it wasn't normalized to discuss at that time. Yeah. You get labeled as, I was labeled as shy or quiet. And no, that was social anxiety. No, that was, me preserving myself because I was desperately afraid to be seen. Right. So like, anyway, I can go on a diatribe about anxiety forever. I won't do that. But yeah, I think that if we can reach children and be able to offer them these life skills, no matter, maybe it's not yoga, maybe it's something else. Maybe you just find a book at the library that's about, self-regulation, that's about mindfulness, that's teaching skills that are beyond the classroom, that really go to who we are as people, who we want our children to be as people. And I say our children in the fact that I believe that everyone is everyone's children. The world's children are our children. What could happen? Everything could change. Yeah. And so, yeah. Yeah. And they are, I agree with you. I think that all kids are like all of our responsibility. Yes. And like, we have to show up for these kids, whether we're protecting them or helping them or, teaching them, whatever it might be. Right. And it does start at home, right? Mm-hmm. And it does start with you, right? Yeah. So like, what are you doing? What are you modeling to them? Actually, when you were talking about, I think it was like the kid needing, I guess it was going back to school. And I was thinking like at the same time also, it's like, well, this is what you said. You said that I've never seen my kid sit still before. Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you sit still? Right? Like this is what they're mirroring who you are back to them. They are your greatest mirror, these kids. So it's like, I've never seen my kids sit still. I've never seen them like take a moment. Do you do that? Yeah. Do you do it? So like this is it's funny and but listen, I have this problem all the time in my own life, right? So like it's a constant evolution of self. of like, oh wait, am I doing the thing that I'm preaching about? Wait, hold on. When was the last time I practiced yoga myself? Right. I had someone ask me that just yesterday when I was teaching the educators at that Jericho Elementary School. They were like, you must practice all the time. I'm like, when I'm teaching, I'm not practicing. I'm like, so sometimes my practice is just 3 deep breaths. And sometimes I'm able to roll up my mat for 60 minutes, but they're both the same. They're both equally important. But yeah, I had a parent tell me just in passing, because I'm not a reading teacher. She was like, I really wish my kid would read more and like, do more independent reading. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, do you often read a lot in front of them? No. Never. I'm like, so I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I said, so like your kid is not learning to value reading independently because they're not seeing you read independently.
Yes.
I mean, I was like, said it kind of in that way. It's just like, oh, damn. Like, yeah, you're right. I need to start reading more. And then guess what? She started reading more. She was just a friend. So she came back to me like a few months later. She was like, I started reading more. She was like, and I had fun reading. I was like, win-win. Everybody wins. You get to read more and your kid sees you reading and says, hey, I'm going to read with mom, over on the end of the couch. So yeah, speaking of reading.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that during the pandemic when we met, I was in the late stages of finishing my children's book. It's called Cookie Doga, a book about yoga, mindfulness, and cookies. It's here at the shop. And speaking of reaching kids, and even if you are not interested in taking your kid to yoga or they have no experience with it in school or their child care center, there is a lot of great books out there about these practices. You do not need to get my book, though I recommend it and would love your money.
Yeah, get the book. Get the book.
Get the book. Get the book. But it was just another tool for me to say, I want to serve more children. How can I do that? Oh, I can make a resource that, is available for more and more kids and families to be able to have access to this practice that unfortunately not everybody feels like they have access to, or they feel like it's not for them because they've never experienced it before. And so I felt like a book would be a good pathway for at least helping kids and parents to like dip their toe into it and think like, oh, this can be fun and playful. Because another misconception is that kids yoga is like adult yoga and that it's quiet and we force the kids to be still and stay on their yoga mats. Come to a class at Ground and Center. See if anyone is on their yoga mat anyone under the age of like 7 anyway. For an entire class, it's not going to happen because that's very anti-child ultimately. Kids need to explore. They need to use their voice. We want them to. We encourage it. We like it that way. And so it's going to be a kid-centered activity. It's individualized practice and done in community, but they get to have power and agency and choice over what they do with their bodies. They get to explore the space. We do art and music and sensory, and we're involving so many other aspects of mindfulness that have nothing to do with moving or doing yoga poses, right? Or flows and asana and things like that. That's included in a lot of the stuff we do, especially for Christy's classes, teaching the tweens and the teens. But for me, right, if you have a baby, a toddler, an elementary school age kid, we're mooing and meowing. We're running around the room. We're exploring sound and finger paint. And like, it's very hands-on, tactile, and playful because play is how children learn. That's how children learn best. And so we call it play yoga because it doesn't have to be serious. It's not like an adult practice at all.
Yeah, but they're getting what they need out of it. And that's,
exactly.
And you can get what you need out of play. And I think that us adults can remember that as well. Okay.
Yes.
That playing is a part of joy. It's a part of learning.
And guess what? Your kids need to see it.
Yes. They need to see playing too and having fun. I think about that. I think, there's so many like serious parents out there, and I am not a serious parent at all. Like with my kids, we laugh all the time and, joke around all the time. And I think that, serious when you need to be, but not serious all the time.
Yeah.
And showing them that in play, like we like to color a lot. We like to color, we like to draw. And we do things like, well, what comes through to you? Like we kind of do it in like a spirit way.
Love
like,
it.
What do you see in your eye? Okay, I think I'm going to do this. Okay, yeah, go for it. And we have fun with that, but it's showing them that side of you as well. But you have to remember that you have that side of you.
That openness. And that really is what mindfulness is, right? It's just being open to the moment. It's being present. It's paying attention to Amy Saltzman, this, meditation teacher. She has my favorite definition of mindfulness, which is just that you're paying attention to your life here and now with kindness and curiosity. And that is just isn't that the goal, man? Like,
yes.
let's just be here and think about what I'm eating. Think about, your child's laughter and what insane thing they just came out of their mouth, right? Like, and just sort of living in that joy or that silliness or that pain or whatever it is, and knowing that, like, I'm going to get through this no matter what, whether it's good stuff, bad stuff. It's my life. It's right now. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to remember, and trust me, it's a practice.
It is a practice. But it's like coming back to the breath. It's things like that, you can only breathe in the present moment. You can't breathe in the future. You can't breathe in the past. You can only breathe right now. So that's why the breath is important. That's why that beautiful, little girl that was like, I need a pause. And then she came back to her breath. It was like, oh, wait, I have to be in the present moment, right? Like coming back. And it's like, you need that reminder as well.
We do.
So important.
We all do. Everyone go play with your kids. Right?
Yeah. Have fun. So Margo, let's talk a little bit, because we've like touched on ground and center, but I really want to kind of drive it home. So like, where is it? How can people become a part of it? And what do you guys offer there? I know you mentioned tween classes. You mentioned the early childhood classes. What else? What other kinds of things are you doing?
So Ground and Center is basically a one-stop shop for mindfulness, movement, and embodiment strategies for everyone from infancy through the teen years. So babies through age 17, and their grown-ups. And so whether you are a parent, a caregiver, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a neighbor, a babysitter, whomever you are, you're having an impact on the life of a child or children, we're the place for you. We have weekly yoga classes. We have special events. We host milestone events, birthday parties. We've branched out a lot in the last few months in doing more adult-based things. We had a lot of feedback from our parents, our families that come through for a lot of our Grown Up and Me classes saying like, hey, I would love to take a class just for me. Do you offer that? And we're like, no, but let's start doing that, right? And so we put more adult-based things on our calendar, and it's been really a beautiful way to open up the community beyond just children. And so the hope is at Ground and Center that when you come through the door, you can spend, whether it's a 45-minute class or, a 90-minute workshop or a birthday party or whatever event that you're there for, that you feel safe, loved, valued, and seen. And that's the goal for all the children, certainly, but really just for anyone that steps through the studio door, to be able to just be in the moment, have some laughs, right? Not take the practice so seriously, or whatever kind of class they're taking, to be able to sort of say to themselves, I need a little bit of me time. I need that pause. Maybe that pause is this workshop. Maybe that pause is this class. And so you can find our schedule and all about our mission and who we are, Tiffany and Margo, at groundandcenter.org. And we're in Bayshore. We're on Main Street in Bayshore. We're on second floor, in front of the canal, and next to the big gazebo. So we have a great little spot. And a lot of people come through, they're like, I never would have imagined this room in this building. And so we've had a lot of people call it a hidden gem or like a mini oasis. And that makes our hearts soar, because that was one of the goals that we had in mind, was for people to be able to not get away from their lives, right? But to be able to take part in their life while they're within our space. That is the goal.
Yeah. I mean, Ground and Center, if you have not been, you have to go. It is really, really beautiful. It is so serene as soon as you walk in the door, and fun. There is fun. It's like you feel serene because the decor feels that way, and you walk in, you see good vibes, right? Like written on.
It's all Miss Christie.
and then you just know that magical things are going to happen there, and it does every single time. My kids love going. They love coming. They were actually just like, when are we going back? I'm like, very soon. Parents Night Out, end of the month. And it's
that's right. We host Parents Night Out too. Go have a date night on Bayshore. They have tons of or Babylon. It's all close. 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
And take 2 hours to yourself. We'll hang out with your kids, do yoga, games, and serve pizza. And we have lots of cool stuff going on.
My sister Gina brings her kids there. I bring my kids there. Christina now brings her daughter there. Like, we we just love it. And it is fun. Parents Night Out is fun.
It's fun. It's fun for us. We have fun with the kids.
Yeah.
We do.
No,
Really
they
do.
always have a great time. They come home with their little crafts. And
That's right.
They just always, and it's like all ages. Like Gavin goes, he's 12 years old. You know what I mean? And Nico goes, he's 8. And then we have my, nieces and nephew that they're like, 4 and 7, 6, 7. So, it's fun for everybody, and it's amazing for you. And you get a little night out
break.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a parent recently be like, "This was the first date night we had out in 5 years." I'm like, "That's so great," which is, and you guys deserve it. You deserve a date night or just a night to yourself. We had one mom just like fall asleep in her car for 2 hours, and she said it was delightful.
Yeah,
it's like that does sound delightful, So you do you during Parents' Night.
Exactly. And then I wanted to ask you, because I know you do a lot of this, and then I see it on like your stories and stuff. So can you talk a little bit about what you do at like the different schools and stuff that you go to?
So I teach yoga and mindfulness full time in schools and childcare centers across Long Island, and randomly I'll pop into Queens and Brooklyn, very rarely Manhattan. And so I teach in school programming, and so I teach where I'm either visiting half the classes in the building or I'm seeing all the classes in the building. Sometimes I'm going in just for a special event, but I also bring my children's book into the building quite often, and in that capacity, I go in as an author, right? And so it's like author visits are separate from my school programming. And that basically looks like whatever the school wants me to do. I come in with what's typical, which is about 30 minutes of interactive read aloud. And so my book has yoga in it. And so there's some quiet moments, there's some boisterous and fun and playful movement moments, there's some peace and, again, more somatic hold moments towards the end of the book. And it's a nice bell curve of a story. And at the end, I usually lead the kids through a brief meditation. And then I take questions from the kids about the writing process, about what it means to be an author and how it feels. Like they ask me the best questions. And that's become one of my favorite things to do in schools, is to just fun. Share the story and sell books to them and to have them be curious about writing too. Like so many kids are writing stuff that's amazing, and you're just like, well, I really want to encourage that, to keep them to keep writing and to never stop writing. And so I really loved having the opportunity to do yoga with kids in this different capacity than I did originally.
Yeah. And I think it's so important, guys, to make sure that you're advocating for Margo to come into your school. Okay. Reach out to her. We're going to get all the information for you to follow. But the thing is, like I said earlier, your kids, just like my kids, are not getting the emotional regulation part of it. They're not getting the coming back to themselves part. They're getting a set of rules. That's what they're getting from school. They're getting a set of rules, and Margo is going in and teaching them the things that they need. Okay. And this is what should be in schools. This is what should be taught. So make sure that you are advocating for your children to have Margo in the schools. It is so important. So Margo, how can everybody reach out to you? How can everybody follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah, so obviously I co-run Ground and Center's Instagram account. We're at Ground and Center LI, and our website's groundandcenter.org, and that's where you can learn all about the in-studio classes if you are local to Long Island, if you live near or around Bayshore, but really just take the drive. We have weekend classes and stuff. And something for everyone. And so you can reach us over there. Or if you're interested in reaching out to me, whether it's for an author event or for during the school day in school programming, you can reach out to me via my Instagram. I am at calmcookie_kidsyoga. And my website is calmcookie.org. And if you haven't heard, cookies are a big part of my name and brand. And as I said before, my book title is called Cookie Toga. And so I would love to hear from you. On either front or both.
Yeah. And if you have cookies, send them to Margo's way. Okay.
I will be if anyone is a professional cookier, I'm happy to do some taste tests for free of charge. No, I'm happy to be of service. And I would love to offer Spirit and Soul listeners, the podcast listeners, a free class with me.
Oh, amazing.
And so if you have a child of any age and you are interested in taking class at Ground and Center, I am going to give you this coupon code right now. So everyone get out your pen, get out your notes app. It's Spirit and Soul, one word, the promo code. And so you get a free class at Ground and Center, any class you want, that we have weekly with the promo code Spirit and Soul, all one word, all lowercase letters. And so if you're hearing this, write down the code, come to class, check out our schedule, and we can't wait to meet you.
You're going to love it. Your kids are going to love it. So thank you so much. It's so generous of you.
Happy to do it.
Thank you. All right, guys, listen, I love hearing what you got most from the podcast episode. So please let us know what just like hit you in a different way. What was like an aha moment for you? And you can send that over to me at Spirit and Soul Studio. You can definitely tag Margo in it. We would love to hear from you. Make sure that you're following Margo. And Margo, thank you so much for being on the
Tiffany,
podcast.
Really quick, I know we have to go, but I can attribute so many big life transformational changes to my relationship with you. I mean, meeting you in 2020, I felt the same thing you felt meeting me. Just like this woman has some powerful energy going on. You were just arms flying. You were speaking so passionately about this work. And so to be able to know you since before Spirit and Soul was Spirit and Soul, and see all the incredible life-changing things that you've done for yourself, for your family, for this community, this huge, just basically global, right, community of people, and to be able to witness it and be part of this community in even the smallest of ways means so much to me. You are an absolute gem of a human, a light in this world. And I'm super grateful for all of the contributions that you and all the teachers here at Spirit and Soul have offered and helped me in my life so much.
Thank you so much. You're going to make me cry.
Everyone, I imagine everyone listening to this has been here before, but if you have not, my God, please hurry up and get here. It's the most magical place. And when we were opening Ground and Center, I came to Tiffany for a reading, or before Christy really pushed my hand. She was like, "We're doing this," and I was like, "Okay, I'm super scared and nervous, but maybe, I think it's good." And then I was like, "Quick, do you have time for me?" Yeah. And Tiffany made time, and she was, and that was it. It really sealed the deal after that. You were like the last person I spoke to before I had more confer with myself. Of course, I was the last person technically, but Tiffany was the person before I had one more conference up in my brain to make sure, like, okay, yes, follow this instinct, follow this path. It's not scary, or even if it is, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. You know what? I was just thinking too, we were talking about it before. Margo was part of like a business group that I had done. And I was like, I remember saying to her one day, I was getting this download for you. And this was before Ground and Center, before anything. And I was like, Margo, I see you with your own space. And she's like, no, nope, you're crazy. I'm like, I don't know. That's what I see. So like,
planted the seed, and now you have to see now you got to see the fruit.
Yes.
You're bringing it all back.
Yes. But I will never forget that, because you're like, no, I'm like, listen, it may not be now, but don't just know it's there. The energy of it's there. Okay. All right.
I genuinely thought you were psycho. I'm like, this woman, I know she knows what she's talking about, but this one's wrong. This one's wrong. You can't get it right every time. So, we all make mistakes, no matter how good, no matter how intuitive. But I never in a million years. But then I met Christy, and I know she talked about it on her episode, which was great. I texted her afterwards. I'm like, hearing our origin story like made me well up, because we met kind of randomly. And so anyway, you can go back to that episode and listen if you haven't yet.
Make sure that you hear like the origin story if you didn't listen to that episode, because their origin story is great. And then now you know that this seed was there, and Margo was like, no. And then all of a sudden the right person comes in.
The right person.
Partner. And then all of a sudden things get aligned. Mm-hmm. And then it's like that person is also encouraging you. And like that, now this timeline 100%. Opens up to something that was seen a long time ago. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
not by
amazing.
Me, seen by you.
Yeah, no, but and brought to your attention. Like, yes. This is a timeline for you. Right. And that's that. And you choose it or you don't. Right. And that's what it comes down to. But I saw this timeline. It's like, okay, I didn't expect it with anybody else or anything else, but that's how it came to be. And so grateful for that. Grateful for you guys this community doing amazing things for kids and amazing things for parents. And thank you so much for everything you do.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast. Make sure that you are telling us exactly what hit today, exactly what you needed to hear. And we'll see you on the next episode, and see you next week.